So a few days ago, for probably the first time in over 2 years, I went to Subway, and let me just say, Subway is not doing well. This was just one location, but you go into the establishment, there's no one there. There's signs on the doors saying, please wait, we're dealing with limited staffing. And, you think that that's like a lot of different establishments and restaurants and chains with kind of the whole pandemic and the problem with workers. But with Subway, it really is next level. And we're going to go through the decline of Subway due to a number of different factors now. This whole thing started when I saw an Instagram post probably about 3 months ago, and Subway, believe it or not, is number one in terms of total locations in front of Starbucks, in front of McDonald's. If you just search on your local, Google Maps, find me Subways, you'll probably have 4 or 5 of them within a 6 or 7 mile radius, as long as you don't live in the middle of nowhere. And when you actually think about it, it does make perfect sense. There's Subways inside of Walmart, the supercenters. There's Subways along strips, inside of malls. It's a lot easier to install a Subway, rather than something like McDonald's or Starbucks for sure. But when it comes to total revenue at this point, Subway is quite frankly barely breaking even. They're making significantly less per year than McDonald's, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, Taco Bell, all of the other main ones, even though they have so many locations. And I remember when I was younger, we would always go to Subway, not a crazy amount, but a decent amount, and it was always seen as like the healthy alternative. There was really no competition for a quote-unquote healthy type of fast food experience that Subway was, where they make, the meal right in front of you, the sub right in front of you. I would always get a 12-inch tuna on Italian. Apparently that's not healthy for you. Their tuna is not very good, but that's what I would always get, and I would get Cool Ranch chips. And let me tell you, if you ever go to Subway, the only topping I would have extra lettuce. It was Italian 12-inch, so foot long, with a lot of tuna and extra lettuce. That's it. And then you take the Cool Ranch chips and you put them on top of the sandwich, and then I would get a Dr. Pepper. So let's be honest. I mean, there's probably a lot of McDonald's meals that are healthier than that, because again, I was reading about tuna, and apparently the worst thing you can get at Subway is tuna. But this goes back all the way to the 1990s and the early 2000s, when health became more of a priority for many Americans. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous, the idea that, our obesity rates are skyrocketing, but yes, there is kind of this fake health thing that was really kicking off in the 90s and 2000s, and Subway being kind of the fast food, we're fresh, we make it right in front of you alternative. There's like this fake idea for Americans to eat healthier, even though we're very likely consuming similar calories at Subway. We just have a little bit less guilt, I guess, and that's really what kicked Subway off, and they started putting up so many different locations. And one of the problems is Subway got too big too fast. Instead of focusing on location, the company focused on restaurant count. As a result, restaurants opened within blocks from one another, creating competition within the same company. And I've had several Subways near me just straight up close that were located in kind of abandoned little strips. You go into these places, they're disgusting, they're decrepit, they're depressing, and several of them already have gone, even in my area, let alone just around in the United States. Record numbers of Subways are closing. Part of that is due to the pandemic, but we'll get to it. Subway also experienced the major setback with the Jared incident in 2015. I don't think that's the number one contributor on where people want to go to eat on something like that, but obviously that's not going to help if you're already declining and you have a problem like that. Your main lead, person who's in all the commercials does a horrible thing that everyone thinks is grotesque. It's going to be a major problem. And in 2016, for the first time in its history, Subway closed more stores than it opened in the United States. So 2016, it starts to really drop off, and sales began to drop. Now that trend continued into 2018 when the company closed over 1,000 locations in the United States. The company said it expected to close 500 stores that year, but ended up closing over double that. And in 2019, Subway sales dropped $210 million from the previous year and the company closed another 1,000 stores. So they were losing about 1,000 stores per year, slowly declining starting in 2016 to 2019. And then you've got a real death blow, which really hit everyone hard, especially when it comes to restaurants, which was the pandemic. And if your Subway, you're already trending down, it's not like your Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, where you're holding strong and you can kind of afford to suffer a setback. You've already got way too many locations as it is. You're closing them, and now you get hit with this. And it really was a gut punch to Subway. And in 2021, the rumor started to circulate that Subway was looking to sell itself. The company later denied the news, but unrest started growing amongst its franchises. In 2021, the New York Times published a report stating that it found no tuna DNA in the Subway tuna sandwiches. It's sad when you read something like that. Again, I always used to get tuna. I mean, they load up the tuna with mayonnaise. I know that. I don't know if it's fake or not, but it does taste very good, especially if you get it on Italian. And over the last 2 years, Subway began overhauling its menu, adding new ingredients and new bread. In 2022, the company added meat slicers to 20,000 stores. They're trying to innovate, they're trying to evolve, and it's just not working with the competition and with the oversaturation of the amount of locations that they have in a small contained area. There's too much competition at this point, way more than there was when it comes to healthy options. And also at this point, it's been like this for a while, even before we've had this whole inflation issue. The $5 footlong, it's really not $5. It hasn't been $5 since like 2015, and now it most certainly is not $5 considering the inflation. And you can see the open versus closed operations. The blue trend going down, those are the opened locations, and the closed operations going up pretty significantly. So yes, Subway right now, it is trending down pretty severely, and I would expect, based on the ridiculous number of locations, because they still are number one, it's just so easy to put a Subway up. Again, you see Subways in a lot of different places. You get them in food courts. You get them right next to the Walmart, inside of Walmarts, especially the super centers. They do the partner with the Subway, and you kind of go into a Walmart and you'll smell the Subway. It is a very nice aroma, but overall, we've had multiple Subways open up in just these grotesque dead-end strip centers and just buildings with a bunch of, that old haircut places, just like the local drugstore, and then you've got a Starbucks randomly there, and 2 or 3 of them have already closed down. There's still about 7 or 8 of them lingering around just because there's so many. They're just kind of all over the place. They're almost like Pokemon. You don't really realize it until you actually think, oh my, there's just like they're all out, they're all over. They're surrounding me with the Subways. But I would imagine more would close, just oversaturation. That is the current status, though, of Subway. They are declining here, and they've been declining since 2016. The pandemic also didn't help. It kind of accelerated this whole thing. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.